So we started in May of 2020. I was doing a lot of these Marriott resorts with the last company I was with, and ownership and I had some disagreements. So I decided to go off on my own, and started with just me and a shovel and a pickup truck. And next thing I know, I'm a multi-million-dollar landscape company.
So, having an environmental science background, learning about electric technology to replace gas emissions is kind of a foundation of your education. Kind of beat into your brain from the moment you start your undergrad is, what can we do about emissions? The landscaping industry is not historically an environmentally friendly industry. And changing that, just as a company, we're not the biggest company, but being able to change that, I think, is something, just a small effort that we can make together and maybe inspire other companies to do the same. While we're leaving a footprint, it's not nearly as large.
I was probably the most skeptical person to ever, I grew up, building muscle cars, loving hot rods, and I loved my old steel, weed eaters that made the ting sound every time you let off the throttle. To me, battery was just never going to be anything that would keep up with what we needed. And then these Marriott started pushing battery powered stuff, and we got a bunch of steel stuff, and the steel stuff this is when I was at Greenleaf. The steel powered stuff at the time was just, the technology wasn't there yet, so all that stuff went in the garbage. And then, as I started talking about these resorts again, Kylie put it back in my head, maybe it's time to give them another shot. But then the customer wanted us to go all electric on our mowers and our side-by-sides, our carts that we use to tow the trailers around these big commercial properties. And, we tested everything, and Greenworks was just where we landed. The zero turns from Greenworks are what sold me on the side-by-sides, the backpack blowers. We demoed every other brand, and Greenworks was up there with the best of them in terms of quality, but the price was also right. So before we bought the Greenworks, we tested like every other brand: Mean Green, Gravely, Toro, and every single one of them, we brought them to this hill just because of how steep it is. And our gas-powered mowers, we can do it. It's kind of scary. You slide down to the bottom every now and then, but this is like the biggest test. And the first Greenworks mower that came out here had a weight kit on the back. And I forget the guy's name who said, "Hey man, try it sideways." And I personally took on, and I'm a heavy guy. I went sideways, and I didn't slide once. They do have a cool look about them, and their lights. When their lights are flashing, and it just brings attention to all the guys. And I mean, the biggest thing we have is safety, especially when we're mowing off of International Drive at 6:30 in the morning. Those flashing lights just draw attention everywhere. So when you're going and you hit something, that motor automatically shuts down. It stops the torque to it, and it basically hits and bounces back right away. There's like no torque that's going to bend that blade all the way. You hit a root, you hit a pipe, and it senses it almost instantly and just takes all the torque away. Shuts that motor off completely. And I was probably buying a new set of blades for one of our gas-powered mowers like every month because one of the blades got bent. We don't have a balancing machine to balance them all out to replace just one. But now, I think I've bought maybe 4 sets of blades in the past year from the Greenworks. And that's just because we sharpen them every day. And when we put them back on, and take them off and sharpen them every day, it just wears the blades down. But we don't have any of the damage that we used to have. So gas savings is huge, absolutely huge. But all our on-site crews, nobody uses gas anymore for anything. I'll put it this way, we used to get close to our credit limit on our gas cards every month. Now we're not even hitting 50%. It makes a lot of sense because I can run a 5-man crew for 40 hours a week on the same property with 18 batteries, where, they charge, 8 or 9 of them up in the morning, and then at lunch, they swap all their batteries out and charge them again, but they never leave the property. Because at the end of the day, you don't have any gas. You don't have to worry about, crews spilling gas all over the place. And you don't have to worry about them stopping every day for 2 cycles at the gas station and spending an extra 30, 40 minutes there. You have it set up right on your trailer. You just back it up to wherever you can, plug that trailer in, and off you go.